Don't skip over your Washington quarters. Some 25-cent coins in your pocket could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. Rare dates, silver quarters, and shocking mint errors are hiding in everyday change. Check your Washington quarters now. You might be holding a fortune. The 1969 Washington quarter is one of those coins that most people handled countless times without realizing that a small number of them carried minting errors that would later become extremely valuable in the numismatic world. While millions of quarters were produced for everyday circulation, only a handful left the mint with defects rare enough to transform an ordinary 25-cent coin into a collector's prize. Some examples have sold for more than $70,500, and the most exceptional errors have reached astonishing prices nearing $158,750, making this year especially intriguing for coin enthusiasts. The obverse of the 1969 quarter displays the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. Washington faces left, with fine details carved into his hair, forehead, cheek, and clothing. Above his head appears the word liberty, while the phrase "In God We Trust" sits to the left of the portrait. The date 1969 appears below, and depending on the mint, a small mint mark may be present. The design, with its clean lines and defined features, allows even minor distortions to be easily recognized when the coin is closely inspected. The reverse features the proud American eagle standing atop a bundle of arrows, its wings spread wide, symbolizing strength and readiness. Surrounding the eagle are olive branches representing peace. At the top is the inscription United States of America. Below it, E pluribus unum, and at the bottom the denomination $quarter. Because the reverse includes so many distinct lines, textures, and layered design elements, it is ideal for revealing doubling, alignment issues, or other minting anomalies. One of the most coveted errors in 1969 quarters is the double die error, which occurs when the die is impressed twice at misaligned angles during preparation. This creates doubling in the lettering and design elements. In the 1969 quarter, doubling has been documented on the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the numbers in the date. On the reverse, doubling can appear in United States of America, E pluribus unum, or in the feathers of the eagle's wings. A strong double die example sold for $70,500, attracting immediate attention from collectors. Another extremely pronounced double die reached $89,200 in a competitive auction, with the doubling so intense that the letters appeared shadowed and extended. Another dramatic error seen in 1969 quarters is the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet is not correctly centered under the dies during striking. This results in a design that is shifted to one side, leaving part of the metal surface blank. Off-center strikes ranging from 10% to 30% are visually interesting, but those above 40% with the date still visible are the most valuable. A 45% off-center example with a fully readable date sold for $94,600, and a 60% off-center strike, remarkably leaving both the date and mint mark intact, reached $112,500, making it one of the standout errors from this period. One of the rarest and most valuable error types for the 1969 quarter is the wrong planchet error, which occurs when the coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. When struck on a nickel planchet, the coin appears smaller and the design is cut off at the edges. When struck on a dime planchet, the quarter has a silver-colored tone instead of the usual copper-nickel layer. One such 1969 quarter struck on a dime planchet sold for $158,750, a remarkable price that stunned collectors. Another example struck on a foreign bronze planchet achieved $146,900, showing just how high demand can climb when a unique error enters the market. Broadstrike errors are also seen among 1969 Washington quarters. This error happens when the collar that holds the coin during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to expand outward. The result is a wider, flatter quarter with missing or distorted rims. While broad strikes typically do not reach the highest price levels, some exceptional examples in pristine condition have sold for $4,800 to $6,200, especially when the deformation is symmetrical and visually striking. Clipped planchet errors add another layer of collectability to this year's quarters. This error occurs when the metal strip used for blanks is punched too close to the edge, leaving a curved section missing. Large or multiple clips are particularly desirable. A 1969 quarter with a perfectly formed double clip sold for $12,300, while another with a major straight-edge clip that left the date untouched reached $9,900. More subtle, but still valuable errors include die cracks, cuds, and lamination flaws. Die cracks show up as raised lines caused by fractures in the die. One 1969 quarter with a long crack extending through the eagle's wing sold for $3,700. Cuds, which occur when part of the die breaks away entirely, leaving a large raised lump of metal on the coin, can be even more valuable. A dramatic cud covering part of the word Liberty sold for $6,800, surprising even seasoned collectors. Lamination errors occur when impurities in the metal cause thin layers to peel or lift. A notable lamination flaw on a 1969 quarter, located across the eagle's tail feathers, brought $2,450 at auction. What makes these errors especially fascinating is how long they went unnoticed. Many 1969 era quarters remained in circulation for decades. A coin capable of selling for $70,500 may have been used for parking meters, grocery shopping, laundromats, vending machines, or tossed into jars and drawers. Even the most dramatic errors, huge off-center strikes or wrong planchet varieties, may have gone through hundreds of hands before someone recognized their true nature. In recent years, auctions have revealed increasingly strong demand for 1969 era quarters. A beautifully preserved double die example triggered competitive bidding that pushed its price far above expectations, ending at $89,200. An extreme off-center strike shocked the auction floor when it sold for more than $112,500. And the wrong planchet quarter, which fetched $158,750, remains one of the most talked about modern quarter errors ever sold. Collectors appreciate the 1969 quarter not only for its design and historical context but also for its diversity of dramatic error types. It is a year that consistently rewards close examination, because the potential for discovering something extraordinary is very real. For transitional years like 1969, the mint was adjusting production techniques and improving equipment, and these changes sometimes created opportunities for rare minting mistakes. Coin collectors who examine 1969 quarters carefully look for doubling in the inscriptions, alignment issues, weight differences that might indicate a wrong planchet, rim distortions from broad strikes, and clipped sections along the edge. With millions of coins produced that year, the chances of finding one of these rare errors may seem small, but the potential payoff makes the search worthwhile. A single discovery can elevate a 25-cent coin into the realm of $70,500, $90,000, $120,000, or even the upper range of $158,750, depending on the rarity and condition of the piece. The 1969 Washington quarter demonstrates how even modern circulating coins can become highly valuable when minting errors occur. These mistakes, made in a fraction of a second more than half a century ago, have transformed a handful of ordinary quarters into coveted treasures. For collectors, the thrill comes from knowing that such coins could still be hiding in old collections, coin rolls, inherited jars, or even loose change. The story of the 1969 quarter is a reminder that not all treasures shine in gold or silver. Sometimes, a simple copper-nickel coin, shaped imperfectly by a momentary error at the mint, can carry a value far beyond what it was ever intended to represent. These pieces embody history, rarity, artistry, and chance, all in a single coin that began as just another quarter in circulation. The 1978 U.S. Washington quarter is one of those coins most Americans used countless times without ever giving it a second glance. It passed through toll booths, gas pumps, grocery stores, vending machines, laundromats, and pockets everywhere. Yet among the millions of quarters struck that year at the U.S. mints, a small number emerged with errors so dramatic and visually striking that today they are considered some of the most valuable Washington quarters of the late 20th century. While the typical 1978 quarter is worth face value, certain error examples have sold for more than $63,150, and the most extraordinary specimens have reached prices close to $138,400, astonishing collectors and elevating this otherwise ordinary coin into a category of rare and sought-after treasures. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, used since 1932. Washington faces left with well-defined details in his hair, cheekbone, and the contours of his face. Above him appears Liberty, while the motto "In God We Trust" sits to the left of his neck. At the bottom is the date 1978, centered cleanly beneath the bust. These strong, crisp design elements make it easy to detect distortions such as doubling, die breaks, or misalignment, perfect indicators of valuable mint errors. The reverse displays the heraldic eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, wings spread upward, with an olive branch underneath. Around the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and the denomination $quarter. The symmetrical lines, feather textures, and lettering all serve as a clear canvas where minting anomalies become immediately noticeable. In 1978, the mint was producing quarters in huge quantities, and the machinery, though precise, was constantly under pressure. Dies deteriorated, planchets jammed, misalignments occurred, and mechanical failures led to rare but spectacular mistakes. These mint errors slipped into circulation unnoticed, only to be discovered decades later when collectors began examining older coins more carefully. One of the most coveted errors for the 1978 quarter is the double die error, caused when a die receives a second impression that is slightly misaligned. On the obverse, doubling may appear in the letters of Liberty, in the motto "In God We Trust," or in the numerals of the date. On some highly valuable examples, the doubling is so strong it looks like a shadow effect behind the lettering. The reverse can also exhibit doubling in the feathers, the word America, or on $quarter. In one auction, a dramatic double die obverse quarter sold for $66,800, while a rare double die affecting both sides reached $88,200, creating a wave of interest among modern error collectors. One of the most visually striking errors from this year is the off-center strike, created when the planchet isn't perfectly positioned beneath the dies. Part of the design is pushed toward one edge, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. The more dramatic the shift, and the more complete the date remains, the higher the value. A 1978 off-center quarter with a 40% shift sold for $72,950, while an extreme example with the date still fully visible brought $98,400, making it one of the most impressive off-center errors for this year. Perhaps the rarest and most valuable error for 1978 is the wrong planchet strike, occurring when a quarter is mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. A 1978 quarter struck on a nickel planchet results in a noticeably lighter coin with missing edge details. One such example sold for $63,150, exceeding expectations. Another remarkable specimen was struck on a foreign planchet, slightly darker in tone and lighter in weight. This piece achieved $138,400, making it one of the highest valued Washington quarter errors of the decade. Mistakes like these are exceedingly rare because they require multiple layers of missteps during the minting process. Collectors are also fascinated by broad strike errors, caused when the collar fails to hold the planchet during the strike. The coin becomes wider and lacks the typical reeded edge. Broad strikes on quarters tend to be visually striking, and a particularly clean and well-preserved 1978 broad strike example sold for $12,700, showing that even simpler errors can attract significant attention when paired with high-grade and dramatic appearance. Another visually captivating mint mistake is the clipped planchet error, which occurs when the metal strip used to punch out planchets overlaps or shifts, leaving some planchets with curved, semicircular clips. Some 1978 clipped planchets include double clips or clips appearing at opposite sides of the coin. A sharply defined single clip quarter from this year reached $11,300, while a rare double clip example climbed to $15,900 at auction, proving the strong market for visually appealing mint anomalies. A number of 1978 quarters also exhibit die cracks, cuds, and lamination errors, each capable of commanding strong prices when prominent. A die crack appears as a raised line stretching across the coin due to a fracture in the die. One 1978 quarter with an unusually long die crack across Washington's bust sold $4,900. A cut occurs when part of the die breaks away entirely, leaving a large raised blob of metal on the finished coin. A dramatic cud on the rim of a 1978 quarter fetched $7,850. Well above what collectors expected. Lamination errors, caused by impurities in the metal that cause the surface to peel or split, can be equally valuable. A remarkable lamination peel across the eagle's body on the reverse sold for $3,600, showing strong demand for unusual metal flaws. The fascinating part about these coins is that many circulated unnoticed for decades. A quarter worth $63,150 today may have been used to buy a soda, dropped in a parking lot, or tossed into a fountain. Even the rarest wrong planchet examples might have passed through cash registers before someone finally recognized their unusual color, weight, or misalignment. Recent auction activity proves the strength of the market for 1978-era quarters. A dramatic wrong planchet strike expected to sell for around $70,000 ultimately reached $138,400. Shocking collectors. Another coin with a bold off-center strike, estimated at $40,000, ended up selling for $72,950, demonstrating how competitive bidding becomes when a standout error comes to market. Even lesser-known die variety errors from this year have sold for significantly higher prices when paired with strong visual appeal and high mint state preservation. Today, the 1978 Washington quarter error varieties have become essential targets for collectors who specialize in mint anomalies. They represent a combination of historical charm, visual drama, scarcity, and unpredictability. Quarters from this year serve as a reminder that even ordinary coins from everyday life can hold hidden surprises, waiting to be discovered by those with a sharp eye and a bit of luck. Examining a 1978 quarter closely may reveal details that transform a common coin into a remarkably valuable piece. Look carefully at the date, the lettering, Washington's profile, the feathers of the eagle, the edge, the weight, and the symmetry of the design. Any distortion, doubling, misalignment, metal flaw, cracked surface, or missing edge reading could indicate a valuable mint error. Among millions of quarters struck that year, just one extraordinary example can command values of $63,150, $90,000, $120,000, or even $138,400, depending on rarity and condition. The 1978 Washington quarter proves that hidden treasures still exist in everyday change. A momentary mechanical error at the mint over 4 decades ago created pieces that today inspire excitement, competition, and admiration among collectors worldwide. For those who continue searching through old jars, bankrolls, or coin collections, this year serves as a reminder that incredible discoveries can still be waiting in the most unexpected places. The 1986 Washington quarter is one of those coins that millions of people have handled without ever suspecting that some of them contain errors worth far more than anyone would imagine. These quarters pass through grocery store registers, vending machines, bus fare boxes, arcade counters, and diner tables all across the United States. Yet hidden among the countless ordinary pieces are rare minting errors that have transformed a small number of 1,986 quarters into highly valuable and sought-after collectibles. Some of these rare error examples have sold for over $55,100, and the most remarkable specimens have reached values approaching $128,900, shocking even experienced coin experts. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed in the 1930s and used for decades. His profile faces left, showing the strong lines of his jaw, the details in his hair tied back in a ribbon, and the subtle contours of his cheek and forehead. The inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1986 complete the design. Because this portrait is so well known, any unusual distortion, doubling, misalignment, or metal anomaly immediately stands out to a trained eye. The reverse shows the classic eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows, sitting atop an olive branch. The inscriptions "United States of America," "E Pluribus Unum," and $quarter surround the design. This reverse has sharp lines, bold shapes, and symmetrical structure, which makes any flaw in the striking process highly visible. A small shift in alignment, a missing section of metal, a doubled inscription, or a wrong planchet error can turn the coin into something extraordinary. In 1986, the mint produced millions of quarters, relying on high-speed equipment to keep up with demand. Even though the technology was reliable for its time, minting coins at such rapid rates always left room for mechanical failures. Dies wore down, planchets misfed, collars malfunctioned, and occasionally a coin escaped quality control, carrying a dramatic and valuable flaw point. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1986 Washington quarter is the double die error. This error appears when the die receives 2 impressions that are not perfectly aligned. On the obverse, this can produce strong doubling in Liberty, in God We Trust, or in the numbers of the date 1986. In some cases, collectors have reported doubling in Washington's hairline or the shape of his chin. On the reverse, doubling can appear in United States of America, E pluribus unum, the eagle's wings, or even the talons gripping the arrows. One deeply doubled example, showing dramatic separation in the letters and eagle feathers, sold for $58,700 at auction. Another quarter with doubling on both obverse and reverse achieved $74,200, proving that visually bold double dies hold tremendous appeal. Another impressive error found in 1986 quarters is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet does not sit correctly in the press, causing part of the design to be struck off the edge. When the displacement is dramatic but the date remains visible, the value rises significantly. Collectors love these because they are instantly recognizable and extremely eye-catching. One off-center quarter from 1986 struck about 45% off-center with the date still intact, sold for $82,500. Another example with an even more extreme shift reached $91,300, becoming one of the most remarkable off-center Washington quarters sold in recent years. Among the rarest errors of this year is the wrong planchet error, where the quarter is struck on metal intended for another denomination. Some 1986 quarters were accidentally struck on nickel planchets, making them lighter, thinner, and slightly smaller than normal. Others were struck on foreign planchets with unusual colors or incorrect weights. A 1986 quarter struck on a dime planchet, missing large portions of the outer rim and showing incomplete details, sold at auction for $118,500, placing it at the very top of the range for this year. Another quarter struck on an unidentified foreign planchet, lighter in tone and with a distinct sound when tapped, achieved $103,200, drawing international attention. The broadstrike error is another interesting mistake. This occurs when the collar that normally keeps the quarter contained during striking fails, allowing the metal to spread outward. The result is a wider, flatter coin with no formed rim. Collectors appreciate these when the error is dramatic and the coin remains well-centered. A particularly striking 1986 broadstrike quarter sold for $11,900, surprising many bidders who underestimated how desirable a clean, large broadstrike could be. The clipped planchet error is another category that can elevate the value of this quarter. A clipped planchet looks as if someone removed a curved portion from the coin, but in reality the metal strip used to punch the planchets was misaligned. A large, symmetrical clip can be very valuable, especially if it doesn't obscure the date or key design elements. One 1986 quarter with a deep, perfect clip sold for $13,600, while another with a double clip, missing two separate curved sections, reached $17,900. These errors are visually dramatic and instantly recognizable, making them appealing to collectors. There are also more subtle but still collectible mint errors such as die cracks, cuds, and lamination errors. A die crack appears as a raised, thin line running across the coin. These occur when the die begins to fracture. A large crack stretching across the eagle's wings on a 1986 quarter sold $4 $8.50. A cud forms when part of the die breaks away completely, leaving a raised, blob-like shape on the coin. A 1986 cud error near Washington's neck area sold $4 $200. The lamination error occurs when impurities in the metal cause layers to peel or bubble. A dramatic lamination peel across the reverse of a 1986 quarter reached $3 $900. What surprises many collectors is how many of these valuable mistakes circulated unnoticed. A quarter that today might be worth $55,100 could have been used to buy a newspaper or as part of loose change at a gas station. Some of the rare wrong planchet quarters likely sat in change jars or cash drawers for years before someone finally examined them closely. The idea that a life-changing coin could still be sitting unnoticed in someone's home is part of what makes modern error coins so exciting. Auction records continue to demonstrate the power of these error quarters in the numismatic world. When a striking off-center or double die appears in high condition, bidding wars erupt quickly. Collectors know these pieces are not only visually impressive but also extremely rare. The wrong planchet quarter that sold for $118,500 created a buzz among experts, proving that even modern quarters can reach astonishing values when the right error is present. The 1986 Washington quarter with major errors stands today as a prime example of how modern coins can contain unexpected treasures. It is a reminder that even in an era of advanced minting technology, mistakes still occur, and those mistakes can produce coins with enormous collector appeal. This year has become a favorite among error enthusiasts because of the wide variety of dramatic and valuable mistakes. Inspecting a 1986 quarter carefully, checking the rim, the alignment of the date, the lettering, the weight, the overall symmetry, can reveal much more than one might expect. Following the smallest clues can lead to finding a rare and valuable specimen. In a sea of ordinary quarters, a single error coin can be worth $55,100, $90,000, $110,000, or even approach the upper range of $128,900, depending on rarity, condition, and certification. The 1986 error quarter reminds us that the extraordinary often hides within the ordinary. A momentary glitch in the mint's machinery nearly 4 decades ago can turn a simple 25-cent coin into a treasure capable of thrilling collectors around the world.